Yeah. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us for tonight's final round of the NBA expansion case competition. We are very excited to be able to have the judges that we have here with us tonight. Just very quickly, we have Scott Loft from the Oklahoma City Thunder, Micah Day from the league office in New York, and Rob Cornelis, who is the founder of Game Face, a very prominent sports organization. We are very excited to be able to have these students present their cases tonight. We'll be starting with Team 1, and they will present their case on an expansion team in Mexico City. And we're very excited to see what they have. So just for their knowledge, which one of you has your slides up and ready to go so I can make you a co-host?
I do.
Okay, perfect. So Jace, I will make you a co-host. You should be able to share your screen now, Jace, if you want to pull up the presentation. So while Jace is pulling up the presentation for you guys, I'll just go over a quick couple of items. You will have 10 minutes to present tonight, which is an additional 2 minutes from the preliminary round. The 10 minutes will be followed by a Q&A session from the judges where they have liberty to ask you any question that they would like. Following the Q&A, you'll be dismissed and the next team will be entered. When you have 1 minute left in your 10-minute presentation, we will give you a warning that you have 1 minute remaining, and then we will give you a countdown from 10 seconds. Once that countdown reaches 0, you'll need to wrap up your final thought, and then we will move into the Q&A portion of the presentation. So gentlemen, whenever you are ready to start, please feel free and we will start the timer accordingly. Good luck.
Thank you. For the prompt for this NBA expansion case, we have confidently chosen Mexico City. The presenters of this case are David Paule, JP Lefgren, myself, Jace DeMond, Taylor Soper, and Tyler Dial. Our proposal summary is that we expand to Mexico City and name the team the Mexico City Aztecs. The reason we chose the team name of Aztecs is because the nation of Mexico is deeply rooted in Aztec culture and history. And we know that this proposal has the potential to engage tens of millions of new fans for the franchise and for the NBA. And you can also capitalize on international TV deals. And all these things would be a huge step forward in helping the NBA become a global brand. Here is our table of contents with the different points and evidence that we want to consider. So why did we choose Mexico City? Right here, we have a comparison data set that we compiled that inspects the population, median income, local sports presence, and support for all the different potential cities that the NBA could expand to. Along here with the state, corporate, and federal tax rates for each of the cities and the qualitative pros and cons. Here on this list, one of the things we want you to notice is the qualitative pro for Mexico City. That would be great international growth for the league as a whole. Mexico City has a massive population to draw upon, and you could gain national support for a franchise in Mexico City. Here you can see on this visualization that Mexico City's population is much larger than any of the other franchises. You could draw upon over 20 million people in Mexico City compared to just 3 or 4 million tops for any other city. We realize scalability isn't the only factor to consider in an expansion. So we have other evidence that we want to present.
Thank you, Jace. In considering the economic viability for this project, we looked at all the streams of revenue we could potentially expand. And we'll be discussing a lot of these streams of revenue throughout the presentation. But what we also want to do is identify the stakeholders of an expansion decision like this. We wanted to consider how the NBA, the Mexico City franchise, and all other NBA franchises would be impacted by a decision like this. And we believe that an expansion to Mexico City gives all these identified stakeholders a really awesome opportunity for economic benefit. For example, the NBA as a company doesn't have a lot of public financial information available, but what we do know is that it made a record $8.78 billion in the 2018 to 19 season, and 2.78 or 2.6 billion of that, 30% almost, was just a one TV contract with TNT and ESPN. That doesn't include the 10 to 150 million they make from each team's local TV deals. When you consider the potential viewership that could come from an expansion to Mexico and this population of 122 million people, I mean, the TV opportunity, it could be a massive home run. And it also could be beneficial for Mexico City. I mean, we're talking about a massive market of 500 economically viable people per seat. That's comparable only to markets like New York and LA. It also has 102,000 millionaires and a lot of this growing fan base that the NBA operations director mentioned. Finally, we believe that expanding to Mexico City would be economically beneficial for other franchises through increased engagement, specifically through merchandise, ticket sales, and viewership with Mexican Americans and the rapidly growing Spanish-speaking population in the United States.
Another essential aspect to consider is government relations, both with Mexico City and the country as a whole. So in 2017, Miguel Angel Mancera, the then mayor of Mexico City, said, regarding an NBA team in that city, "We are ready now. We are waiting for that announcement of having an NBA team." As seen here, government officials are ready to welcome in the NBA, as are members of the community. And something else we looked at as well when considering Mexico was the tax situation. And so in Mexico, the corporate tax rate is 30%, and the highest marginal tax rate is 35%. And that's lower than both California and Canada.
Unmute myself real quick. As for league viability, we believe Mexico City, putting a team there would integrate easily into the NBA. Next slide. So as we see, reasonable flight times, the longest flight, New York to LA, is longer than the longest flight from Mexico City to New York, 4.5 hours. So that's easy for the players to manage. They would be put into the Southern Division with the Spurs, Mavericks, Rockets, and Suns. And finally, there's already a G League team, so intentions from the NBA was to send out a feeler to see if Mexico City would be an appropriate team and place to put an NBA team. And the Capitans have been successful so far. Let's go to the next slide. As for security and safety, this was a major concern. There's a misconception that Mexico City is more dangerous than any city in the US. That is not true. There's many cities that are more dangerous, such as Detroit. The crime index in Detroit is 72, while Mexico's is 69. And during the Nets 5-day stay a couple years back, there was good training. The players felt safe. The kids the families felt safe. And then employees of the franchise would help the players find high quality residential areas to live in. And finally, there's another concern that would this affect overlap in fans? There's little data to suggest that when teams are close in vicinity, that there would be a negative effect. If anything, putting a team in Mexico will have a greater effect on the Mexican fan base in the US. I think that's something that we blinded ourselves to, is that Seattle, when they lost the Sonics, they quickly converted to other teams. While Mexico, a lot of Mexican fans love San Antonio. If anything, putting a team in Mexico City would just increase ticket sales for opponent teams.
Another great selling point on Mexico City is the fact that there is already a great arena there called La Arena Ciudad de Mexico that can be leased through the Grupo Avelans. So as we pull up the next slide here, the arena is in a great location. It's close to the Feria metro stop and the Fortuna suburban train station. It also has over 5,000 parking spots, which means that the citizens of Mexico City have a wide range of transportation options as far as how to get to the arena. Another great thing about this arena is it's pretty new. Built in 2012, it's pretty state of the art. In fact, former ESPN writer and current New York Times writer Mark Stein has said that the arena is, quote, definitely NBA caliber. However, there are some potential improvements that could be made. Namely, obviously, you'd want a team store in the arena and a few offices for essential team personnel. And going back to the ticket revenue, the arena seats 22,300, which immediately would make it the largest arena in the NBA. And with Mexico City having a population of nearly 22 million, that means nearly 1,000 people per seat. And as we showed earlier, over 500 of those would be economically able to purchase those seats, which would make it a huge market. And during the Mexico City games, they essentially sold out all the games. The prices range from $20 to $400, which is pretty good for an NBA game.
Next, we want to focus on marketing and branding opportunities with this franchise in Mexico City. Obviously, with the Mexico City Aztecs, there would be a massive merchandising opportunity. This would be the merchandising opportunity with a franchise in Mexico City would be greater than in any other potential city to go to, because you would be able to draw upon all the fans in Mexico City, this nation of Mexico, and even Mexican American fans here in the US. They would all want to buy, the jerseys and the merchandising items. They'd be very high in demand. And then there are great marketing opportunities in Mexico City with strategic partnerships. You can use strategic partnerships to increase ticket revenue for ticket packages and sales and to gain interest from fans to go to the games. You can create TV deals and you can manage events. Here we have Emilio Azcárraga. He is the owner of the Club America, which is the largest soccer club in Mexico City. And he also owns Televisa, which is the largest television channel in Latin America. We can work with him to create ticket deals for the fans at his soccer games to go to the Mexico City Aztec basketball games as well. And we can use his connections to create TV deals to expand viewership throughout Mexico.
Alrighty, thank you guys very much for your presentation. We will now open it to the judges for Q&A. Rob, if you would like to lead us off with a question, and then Micah, and then Scott, if you guys have anything.
Sure. Couple of areas I'd like to hone in on with you. They actually were the last two areas. First, regarding the arena, you mentioned that a sports broadcaster said that it was ready for NBA action. I don't know when he said that, but the arena is approaching 10 years old. By the time an expansion franchise lands there, if the NBA were to award Mexico City, the arena might be 12, 13, even 15 years old by that time. Are there not any recommendations from your team about perhaps the development of a new facility?
We don't have any recommendations for a new facility. If necessary, we recommend just improving and remodeling anything that's necessary within La Arena Ciudad de Mexico. Some of the best arenas in the NBA have been around for a while. The Staples Center is over 20 years old, around 20 years old. Madison Square Garden is quite old, actually. American Airlines Arena, never mind, the United Center in Chicago is pretty old, but it's still a high caliber NBA arena. Vivint Smart Home Arena here in Salt Lake, it was built in 93 or 94, I believe. So it's over 20 years old.
Yeah, I agree with Jace. I think if anything, the age of the arena isn't the problem. Maybe the depreciation, like, is it in maintenance or is it being maintained in a way that the NBA would require? It holds events constantly and high, like affluent events, and it has more, executive suites than any other NBA arena could offer.
Can you tell me how many suites it has?
We do not.
There's 124 luxury suites in the arena.
Thank you. Then second question regarding the last point you made on the marketing and branding. Unless I misinterpreted what you were suggesting, it seems like there's an over-reliance on one person within the market that could lead the effort. The gentleman who owns the soccer franchise. So can you talk a little bit more about why you're putting your eggs in that basket in the event he doesn't want to play ball?
The only reason I only mentioned him is because of time constraints. We are nearing the end of our time. There are many others. There's Carlos Slim, Ricardo Salinas, and then there's lots of conglomerate groups. Grupo Avalons, who owns Zignia Live, which is the group that owns the arena. There are many individuals you can work with. Emilio Ascarago is just an example. But he's a great person to work with because he has connections with the television industry, owning the largest TV channel in Mexico. And our idea was that he could also market ticket packages to the soccer fans to try and gain interest from, because we know the soccer fan base in Mexico is very strong. They are very loyal to their teams. And so if we could get some of that for the basketball team as well, through ticket deals to those fans, it would generate a lot of ticket revenue for the team and create a stronger fan base.
Okay, I apologize to my fellow judges. I have one more quick question. You mentioned government relations, that the mayor from 2017 was very, very supportive. Is he the current mayor of Mexico City?
You're muted, JP.
He is not anymore.
And the current mayor of Mexico City, what has he publicly said about the possibility?
He hasn't announced anything as of yet, and that's why we referred to the previous mayor of Mexico City.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, we're making the assumption that the same sentiment is held by the same mayor or by the current mayor.
All right, hey guys, nice job.
Thank you.
A good amount of preparation and presentation here. Rob got a couple of my questions already.
Sorry.
No, they were great. I could expound further actually, but we'll jump to a couple of other things. One of the last things you guys talked about was, I can see me, I got my,
Okay.
anyway. One of the last things I looked at was, or that you mentioned was tickets. How did you get your ticket / sellout information?
So I can speak on that. So back when the Nets stayed for 5 days in Mexico City and had other teams come, there was an average of 400 or 20,000 seats sold of the 22,000 seat arena. And so if you were to simply look up, I think we have those articles cited in our appendices, but it talks about each of those. Every time teams come to stay in Mexico City and play games, tickets usually sell out.
Well, 20,000 isn't a sellout if there's 22,000 seats, right?
Yeah, the tickets often were either sold out and then, well, there was 2 sold out games and then on average it was 20,000.
Okay, cool. Is there any concern about cultural awareness for your team name, given that obviously like the Washington football team now is no longer the Redskins?
Right, Redskins, and yeah, that was
being a name there.
That was something that I was concerned about when we thought about Aztecs first. But we thought to stay true to who Mexico is, Aztecs is the best. Redskins is insensitive considering the context, while Aztecs is very true to Mexico's flag, and there's even an Aztec symbol on the front. And
the national seal of Mexico is based on an Aztec legend. Most of the people in Mexico are descendants of the Aztec civilization. So they're deeply rooted within that culture. So it's a lot different than a US team claiming a Native American term or tribe as one of their team names. Because
I will say, if further research proves that that might conclude to be insensitive, that's something that we would obviously change.
Oh, no, just a question I had.
Yeah, of course.
Why do you think there isn't an affiliated team for the G League team? If this market is so great, why hasn't an NBA team latched onto the Mexico City of G League team yet then?
The G League team, Adam Silver even mentioned that it was a feeler to see if Mexico City would be an appropriate place to put an NBA team. There's rumors that Las Vegas and Seattle are places where a lot of investors are expected to offer. There's a $2.5 billion fee that Adam Silver is asking for. At least rumors are saying that, according to Brian Windhorst. And I mean, the NBA is losing a lot of money at this point, especially due to the pandemic. So they need this cash infusion. And then if we were to add, 1 or 2 more teams, it would be diluted. Like TV revenue would be diluted between these teams. TV revenue is probably where NBA wants to hedge their bets. So Mexico City offers the best possible outlet for that, or best possible solution, rather than Seattle, because we need new fans. We don't need old fans that already exist in the NBA fan base. So if there's already a G League team there, that's clear that there's some intentions from the NBA to lay a foundation and see if a team could be appropriate for Mexico City.
Yeah, and just kind of building on that, the expansion to Mexico City with the Capitanes is something extremely recent. If I understand it, this season was supposed to be the first season of the Capitanes in Mexico City. So it's still, like as Taylor said, it's a feeler, and it's still in that feeling out process because it's extremely early to say that.
Yeah, if anything is a concern, it's finding the right investor. Seattle and Las Vegas, it's clear that there's going to be offers, and many of them. Mexico City, we feel like the NBA is maybe not realizing how many investors there are possible in Mexico City and how easy it could be to find excited ones.
Got it. Thank you. Okay, last question, and we'll move, and then Scott can take over. You talked about security and crime index, and
Right.
I'm not going to debate the numbers there. I trust that what you shared is completely accurate. But how do you handle perception of those figures? How do you convince a player to move and put his family in Mexico City? Whether the crime index is accurate or not, I would assume that a player would much rather live in Manhattan, New York, than Mexico City.
I agree. I think that is my largest concern for this. That's the frustrating thing. I think NBA has set a good precedent of tackling social issues. And I think if the NBA were to continue to be confident in that direction, it would prove to be more rewarding, changing the perception that Mexico is not just, a more crime-ridden second world place, that it deserves to progress and has people that are, not, that have integrity and want to push the bounds of business. So that's the one thing that it will take convincing for many players, I'm sure. However, given the new opportunity and the sheer publicity that could be offered, if you just move a team to Mexico City rather than Seattle, the sheer publicity would offer so much excitement. I'm sure players would be excited to be the first player on the first season in Mexico City.
And
Also, sorry. Okay, good.
Sorry, if I can add to that too. I think that there's something to be said too about the precedent they've said about adding security, about having a solid security infrastructure in going to Mexico, in any of these dangerous cities. I think there's a way that you can use organizational development to give security training to players and corporate members to help create an atmosphere of security and just peace of mind for anyone who might have those concerns.
And more often than not, that's not the player's concern. It's whether the city is cool to play in. That's usually their concern, whether they'll get a lot of money.
I just want to add one last thing. I think an important thing is obviously education and exposure. And I think the Mexico City games are great for that. As we've seen with the games, they've been very successful thus far. And Kelly Olynyk, when he was there, he talked about how much the city was fun, how much the people loved to have the opportunity to go see basketball. And I think just exposing players little by little to how great Mexico City can be is a great way to kind of spread that news. And players talk between players. So if they have a great experience in Mexico City, they can obviously share that message.
All right, Scott, if you have any questions, please go ahead.
No, I think the two judges hit both of my major ones, which were security and the branding piece.
Perfect.
Scott. Sorry about that.
No worries, all good.
All right, you'll lead us out next time, Scott, on the next presentation. Team one, thank you very much for the great presentation. It was very evident, putting a lot of hard work and diligent research. Very great job. We will send you an email telling you when to get back on the call for the award ceremony. But until then, we will see you later tonight. Thank you very much for your preparation and for your hard work. Great job.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for
Thank
letting
you.
us answer your questions for a while. That was kind of you guys. Good luck.
Well
Thank
done.
you.
And we're really just this 1 to 100 is just our own guidelines. So when we get to the bottom, that's how we rate it, right?
Correct.
Okay, got it.
All right, so we have just welcomed another team into the chat. Alan Tarbit and Corbin Smith will be joining us, and they will present their case for a team in Las Vegas. Alan, I am going to make you a co-host so you can share your screen with us. While you're doing that, I'll go through a couple procedural items. You'll have 10 minutes to present, which is 2 minutes additional from the previous round. And then there will be a short Q&A from the judges. Please make sure that when you're answering the judges' questions, that you're succinct with your answers, because they'll have a very limited amount of time to ask you multiple questions. And we will give you a 1 minute warning like the previous round when you have 1 minute left in your presentation, and then we'll count down from 10. When we get to 0, you'll need to finish your thought and wrap up your presentation, and we will move into the Q&A. You gentlemen are free to start your presentation as soon as you share your screen with us.
Perfect. All right, thank you. Okay. Awesome. So we are so grateful for the opportunity to present to you guys today our findings. We've had so much fun learning about the NBA and different things that could possibly go into an NBA expansion franchise. But today we wanted to present our findings and why we feel like the NBA would most benefit from a team in Las Vegas by creating a team called the Las Vegas Venom.
The first reason why the NBA would thrive in Las Vegas are because of the economic benefits they would receive. Las Vegas instantly would become an attractive destination for top free agents and superstar players. As you judges are well aware, the NBA is a players' league, meaning the players have a lot of control and influence on the league. Top players tend to migrate towards those big, glamorous markets. We can cite James Harden going to Brooklyn, and in past years, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Kawhi Leonard, and others going to Los Angeles. Las Vegas, compared to other cities like Mexico City or Canadian cities, Toronto, Montreal, is a much more attractive destination for a player to live because of really nice weather, especially during basketball season, and just of the lifestyle there.
And another economic benefit that not very many people take advantage of is esports. Las Vegas is the center of esports in the nation. Right now, esports is valued at almost $1 billion, but by 2023, it will be over $1.6 billion. Esports has continued to grow, especially because of quarantine, and the NBA 2K League, which is the NBA video game, has grown expansively, huge, both here in the US and also internationally. And knowing that the NBA really wants to be able to expand here at home and also abroad, esports gives them an awesome opportunity to build that brand abroad, to encourage fanship and teach more people about the game, get more fans interested in the NBA. And by putting a team right in the center of all of that, people will be able to recognize the NBA when it comes to esports, and fanship for not only that Las Vegas team, but for the NBA and other teams as a whole will be able to develop further.
Something that we know is also extremely important for an NBA team to be successful in a new location are corporate partnerships and sponsorships. Las Vegas is home to the casinos and to the powerful hotels. Casinos such as MGM Resorts would create fantastic opportunities for partnerships and ticket sales for the Venom. A potential marketing plan to entice these large casinos such as MGM Resorts, Mandalay Bay, the Bellagio, would be to create a plan that would give all fans in attendance at a Venom home game $20 in credit to partnering casinos. So similar to how the Utah Jazz have a partnership with Chick-fil-A, and if the opposing team misses 2 free throws in the fourth quarter, all fans in attendance get free Chick-fil-A. The same would apply just going towards casinos, thus enticing casinos to work more with us because we would be giving them business and they would be helping us out as well. We also want to partner with 2 companies that we're really excited about, In-N-Out Burger and M&M's, who, to the best of our knowledge, do not have any partnerships with a professional sport team. In-N-Out in particular has an extremely powerful impact out west and in the city of Las Vegas. A profitable and successful fast food company. As a result, we would want to put an In-N-Out chain inside the arena and really grow that partnership and relationship, benefiting them and benefiting the Venom.
Another question is is the market too saturated for this? Are there too many teams in Las Vegas for this to be successful? For them to make money, for there to be enough fans in attendance every single home game? And this question was posed to us in the preliminary rounds, and we wanted to share a case study from Los Angeles that can show that this is possible. So Los Angeles took on 3 pro teams from 2016 to 2018, the Rams, the Chargers, and LAFC. And from 2016 to 2019, the GDP of the city of Los Angeles grew almost $100 billion, which can obviously be due to other factors, but knowing that the Los Angeles GDP didn't fall and that there was significant growth in those years shows that adding a professional sports team can only insert more money into the economy and help the economy grow. We feel like Las Vegas can replicate this. First of all, there are enough people in Las Vegas to make this work. The Golden Knights, the hockey team, had reported that 88% of their fans were locals, not tourists, as many may think, because Las Vegas is such an entertainment and tourist-based city. Enterprise, Henderson, and Spring Valley, all surrounding suburbs that are among the fastest growing cities in the nation. Population will continue to grow, shopping centers will start popping up in these cities, business centers, and people will have the money to spend going to Las Vegas Venom games and will actively do that. And third of all, if you know Vegas, Vegas has a rich basketball culture. UNLV, the NBA Summer League is there every single year, and the US Olympic team practices there when they're preparing for the Olympics.
Another reason why we feel that a team could thrive in Las Vegas is because of great government relations. The sales tax rate in Nevada is low, 4.6%. Nevada's gambling scene really opens the door to relationships, partnerships, and sponsorships with casinos. And also the mayor of Las Vegas, Carolyn Goodman, is 100% on board with having a team coming, even though they've had so many new teams in the last couple of years. In fact, one day after Adam Silver announced that he was interested in having the NBA expand, the mayor was on the phone with Adam Silver, and she said about the conversation, quote, "I can assure you that we, Las Vegas, are right there. We would look forward to it. I think in time we would just be a perfect fit for an NBA team." He, referring to Adam Silver, knows we're right there. That's what I know directly from him, which I think is most significant.
And with all this in mind, this is what we propose for league realignment. What we would do is move the Portland Trailblazers from the Northwest Division onto the Pacific Division, and you move the Minnesota Timberwolves to the Eastern Conference into a geographical area that is much closer to them than the Northwest Division is currently. Then we would kill that Northwest Division completely and rename it the Mountain Division, putting more Western teams like the Suns, the Nuggets, and the Venom into this division. We feel like this is all in an effort to minimize travel and the health of the NBA players, which is an NBA value in itself.
We also want to talk about the venue. Often an obstacle for a new team in a new city is where are they going to play? Do we need to build a stadium from scratch? Luckily, there already is a brand new state-of-the-art arena in Las Vegas, the T-Mobile Arena, which is only 4 years old. Something that's really awesome about T-Mobile Arena is that it includes the Toshiba Plaza, which is a 2-acre entertainment plaza outside of the stadium with a 175-foot screen where fans can come together and watch games. So this is really nice, for fans when the game is sold out, or if it's a really expensive game like a Western Conference Finals or an NBA Finals, where friends and families can still come together, enjoy the atmosphere of the game day at the stadium, and watch the Venom play. It also has a great location. It's directly off the strip and off the freeway, thus creating easy access for tourists and local fans alike. We also quickly want to talk about team branding and thank our friend Ryan Mills for the design credit. We decided to go with the rattlesnake, the Venom, because of the desert location. And the color scheme, we went with the black and gold because it mirrors the hockey team, the Golden Knights, and the black and white because it mirrors the Raiders. So it creates a sense of city pride for all the fans with the same color scheme for all their teams.
Now, marketing. We want to make sure that we establish a brand right off of the bat. And we're going to do this through our We Got Next campaign. For many people who love to play pickup basketball, the We Got Next is a familiar phrase for people who are going to come in, dominate right away, and just win. Just like how Las Vegas teams have been able to do in the past, the Golden Knights and the Raiders. We want the Venom to be a team that is going to come in and do everything that they can to dominate. And we want the fans to know that we are all in, that we are going to win, that we're going to do everything we can to bring a successful NBA team to the city. We also want to create a place where families can go to experience Venom games. Vegas is often known for its adult entertainment like casinos and things like that. But we want the Venom to be a place where you can bring your kid, where they can go and experience Vegas level entertainment, but family friendly. This will happen through halftime shows with the Blue Man Group, Cirque du Soleil, magic shows, and things like that.
Lastly, we want to talk about our Venom employment program, which gives back to the community and helps others. Las Vegas is one of the most racially diverse cities in the US, and this program creates stable and well-paying jobs for underprivileged and minority communities. This program will also teach those people skills relative to in-demand and specialized jobs to better prepare them for more advanced and higher paying jobs. And once those employees graduate from this employment program, the next group of ambitious people will fill their spots working for the Venom, and it will create a cycle that is continuously creating good jobs for the community. Ultimately, gentlemen, we feel strongly that the Las Vegas Venom are ready to become the 31st franchise in the NBA. And just to recap for the following reasons: the Vegas location provides many resources for large revenue. There are powerful companies and casinos that are ready for successful partnerships. The fastest growing pro sport in the country will go hand in hand with one of the fastest growing cities in the country, and we will have a top level employment program for the local community.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, thank you very much for your presentation. Very well put together. We'll now turn the time over to the judges so that they can ask you some questions and get some further knowledge. So we will start with Scott, and then we will go Micah, and then Rob. So Scott, go ahead and ask whatever questions you may have.
First of all, well done, guys. Appreciate your effort there.
Thank you.
Help me understand, in particular, as it relates to the venue and its economic viability. AEG manages the arena and has many of the permanent signage and naming rights revenues that are associated and go directly back to AEG as a management company, the way that their management agreement is set up. The Golden Knights also take in a bunch of, as the current primary tenant and per their lease, a bunch of arena revenue that AEG doesn't, that is related to hockey. How do you think basketball can carve out, knowing that there are two other key entities? How do you think that venue and the way it's set up can help the basketball team can gain economic viability for the local revenues?
That's a great question. And I would just think of other arenas in larger cities, Staples Centers in Los Angeles, Madison Square Garden in New York, where there's multiple professional teams that play in the same arena that even often have conflicting seasons. You know, hockey season generally goes on at the same time as basketball. But ultimately, we feel that the Las Vegas Venom, and with the NBA just being such a fast-growing sport, we would be able to capture so much interest and popularity from local fans that the Las Vegas Venom would become the hottest ticket in town, that it would become the most attractive event to go to. And working on scheduling the hockey team, making sure that we would play on nights when they didn't have games, and making sure that there were no scheduling conflicts and that the popularity would still be able to bring in lots of fans and lots of revenue through ticket sales specifically for our games.
Thank you.
That's it. You got it. Scott, anything else?
I'm good. I'm good.
Okay. Hi guys, great job. Well put together.
We can't hear you guys very well.
Oh, sorry. It's because I have to speak across the room.
Oh,
there you go. Great job. I really like the branding imagination on the jerseys. It looked great. A couple of quick questions. What do you think the market share? What's the upside for revenue for the NBA for having Las Vegas as a market? Like, if you can put a number to it, I mean, what kind of revenue number do you see them generating for the NBA as a whole? I mean, that makes sense?
Yeah. Well, as far as revenue, so for example, I know a franchise like the Miami Heat are currently valued at $1.95 billion, and a lot of that is because they're a good team and they're in a really nice location. We feel like Las Vegas is a similar location of Miami in the sense that there's really nice weather, lots of people come there to visit, and players are going to want to go there. So as a result, we feel like with lots of really good players wanting to go to Las Vegas, it's going to create great sales for merchandise and jersey sales, as well as ticket sales. As far as an exact number, I'm not really sure what to throw out because, being honest, I don't really know what those big revenue numbers are for the NBA. But we feel like just because the NBA within the last 10, 15 years really has become a players league, we feel like those players are going to want to be in Las Vegas above really any other location in the US or internationally. And as a result, sales are going to go up like crazy for tickets, for merchandise, and all that stuff.
And I think another thing that to add in, we wanted to make an emphasis during our presentation, specifically when it comes to esports and the different revenue streams that can come through that. Building a partnership with esports, and the NFL actually came out today, came out publicly with a partnership that they created with an esports organization, an esports company. And esports is an industry that can be built so much and become part of the fan experience. And we think adding that along with our fan experience marketing campaign, where we want like some Vegas level entertainment, we want to build this brand among people in Las Vegas that coming to a Venom game is going to be just as entertaining as going to a casino and watching a magic show, which makes tons and tons and tons of money every single year, or going to a circus or some other show that a casino is putting on. We want people to feel like if they're going to a Venom game, they're going to leave not only having watched NBA level basketball, but also having seen Vegas level entertainment. And we think adding those two things together, a competition that is high and a team that is very successful, and a Vegas level entertainment style where people want to go, whether or not they're basketball fans, we feel like the revenue can be very strong there.
Well, okay, real quick then. You talk a lot about players wanting to go to Vegas, and okay, so there's the Strip and there's lots of clubs. But what's the income tax in Nevada? Do you guys happen to know? I know you shared the sales tax.
I'm sorry, what was that?
What's the income tax in Nevada?
I do not know off the top of the head, but right here, income tax in Nevada, it says
6.85.
I'm just curious, because players that's important to them, what they're going to have to pay in income tax. And then I guess lastly, and as quickly as you can respond, you're heavy on this players going to Vegas, but Las Vegas would be considered a small market by television demographics and population demographics. So I'm just curious how you, like, for example, equate GDP with the fan market, which was a great, I mean, I think you guys, did some good research there on LA, but LA is not the same market Vegas is by population or by economics. So I'm just curious why you're so confident that this would be this would equate to a New York City or a Los Angeles market.
I think the biggest reason that we come up with saying that Las Vegas would be an attractive free agent destination has to do with the warm weather aspect to Las Vegas, the fact that it's pretty nice year round, obviously not 100% of the time, but it's pretty nice year round. And also, I think just adding to the entertainment value and the ability of people to be able to go and get sponsorships and endorsement deals with these places in Las Vegas, especially the type of people that have very strong, active personalities in the NBA, that there are some star players that just love to go out and have fun. And we're not necessarily endorsing and saying that they should go to Las Vegas just so they can go to the clubs and they can go to the casinos all day, every day when they're not playing basketball. But there's a lot of potential to grow endorsements there, and there's potential to just be in a place where it's warm all the time.
So guys, this is Rob. I got to hurry with some questions here real fast. They said I can ask one. I'm going to ask more if you'll answer them quickly for me. First of all, you've talked a lot, and you were just asked by Micah about player attraction to the market. Isn't that the problem with the NBA though, is that everyone wants to go to LA or New York? So if you're Oklahoma City or New Orleans or Cleveland, how do you compete with that? How is that good for the overall viability and health of the league if all the players want to go to the sexy markets?
That's a great question. I've thought a lot about that, and I think our reasoning is that the trend that the NBA is going right now is there is starting to become this divide, small market versus big market. And we're hoping that Las Vegas could become a happy medium because, as Micah mentioned, it's not to the level of Los Angeles and New York, but it's also more attractive than a place like Cleveland. And we feel like Las Vegas would become another place instead of just LA or New York or Miami. It creates another city so that the balance of power and the competition, instead of just being in two places, might be starting to shift to 4, 5, 6 places, and hoping that that number will just continue to grow.
I also love your logo, your branding. Regarding the casinos playing a partnership role, why would casinos want their customers to go to an NBA game instead of going to the casino at night or going to their own shows inside the hotels?
I would say that we're hoping that a lot of Venom fans at games are going to be locals. And we know that a lot of the locals at Las Vegas tend to stay away from the strip because they just don't like the busyness and the hecticness of it. So with this incentive plan that all fans in attendance would get a credit towards the casino, that would bring in more local Las Vegas residents to the casinos, if they're looking for something fun to do on a Friday or Saturday evening, instead of just the consistent tourist clients going into a casino.
And if I could add something quickly as well, I think that by adding this another thing, it expands their brand in a way that would be beneficial for them. I think the most successful companies are companies that can pivot. Like Amazon originally sold books, but now they are an online marketplace that sells pretty much anything. And I think these casinos expanding their brand and expanding what they do, not only will help them as a brand become more family friendly, but also a place where they can expand their assets and get money in different places. And if they were to accept the different plans and marketing plans that we had with them, every time a Las Vegas Venom team would win, people would pocket money that then they could take to the casinos to use and just add money right back into the business plan that they already have.
Gentlemen, thank you very much for your presentation and for the answers that you provided with the judges. Great work and great research. We will go ahead and shoot you an email telling you the time to hop back on for the award ceremony later tonight. And we will look forward to seeing you then. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you guys. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
So just let me know when we're live, RJ.
You're good.
Okay, perfect. We're just waiting for them to join.
No Cougar Tails here tonight?
I guess not.
They're like $10, man. Big ripoff. Maybe not that high,
Careful,
but they're
we're
expensive.
live on a BYU platform, so let's not rip on their biggest biggest concession.
That's fine. Just stick. All you do is stick 2 regular sized maple bars together, and for
This is family entertainment. Price here.
that's true.
Okay, so we lost.
I'm sure they have.
Should we just?
You know how bakeries have the day olds.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Thank you for patiently waiting. We're a couple minutes behind schedule. Before I begin anything, who will be sharing their screen tonight? And I will make you a co-host.
I'll be doing the screen sharing.
All right. So Jeff, you are now a co-host. Feel free to share your screen while he's pulling up your presentation. A couple of quick things to go over. You'll have 10 minutes to present. When you have 1 minute left, we will give you a warning and then we'll count down from 10 seconds. When we reach 0, you'll need to wrap up your final thought. Then we'll enter a quick Q&A session from the judges. Please make sure that your answers are succinct with the judges so that we can ask multiple questions. Other than that, good luck, and we are excited to hear your presentation.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. Judges, viewers, thank you for being here. We appreciate the time that you've put aside to listen to our case tonight and to all the cases that will be presented. My name is Jeff. On our team, we have myself, Gavin, Preston, and Abby. We are all huge fans of the NBA, and we are excited to present our case for where the next NBA franchise should be. Our franchise expansion for the NBA is going to be the Montreal Mounties. The Mountie name comes from the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, or the Mountaineers, the National Guard equivalent of Canada, and a very well-recognized symbol that will be a great mascot for our team. The Montreal Mounties will play in the Eastern Conference as part of the Atlantic Division, along with the Nets, Celtics, Knicks, 76ers, and Toronto Raptors. A great thing about this alignment and the proximity of Montreal to, to all these other cities is that it's at most a 2-hour flight to any interdivision team. We think this is a great advantage for Montreal and means that travel will be greatly facilitated. The biggest question with an NBA expansion team for the NBA is this going to work with our financials? Is this going to be a benefit to the league as a whole? We believe that Montreal answers this question with a resounding yes. Montreal as a city is the 8th biggest in North America in terms of population, with over 4 million people. And it has the 23rd highest GDP of any North American city. In addition to this, the market segment that the Montreal Mounties would share and pick up in Montreal is pretty much untapped. Among the 4 major professional sports leagues in North America, the Montreal Canadiens are the only team that currently plays in Montreal. The Montreal Canadiens were established with the original teams of the NHL over 100 years ago, and the fans are diehard. Over the last 5 seasons, the Montreal Canadiens have been in a bit of a slump, only making the playoffs twice in these last 5 years. However, attendance for each game over the last 5 seasons has averaged over 21,000 fans per game. We feel that the Montreal Canadiens are a great indication that there are fans in Montreal ready to support a team. But in addition, they've been around for a long time. And Montreal's demographics have changed. The city has changed over the years. And there are new fans ready to adopt a new team in a league that is quickly becoming the global sport. The corporate partners that we've identified to work with the Montreal Mounties and be a large source of revenue for this team are, in fact, the direct competitors of the Toronto Raptors. If you look in the text, you'll see the list of sponsors for the Raptors, such as the Air Canada, with the arena and others. What we've done is we've identified similar companies in similar markets who would want to be part of the promotional program and partnering with the Montreal Mounties to compete against their rivals. Specifically, Pepsi is a great example because Pepsi and Coca-Cola are fierce competitors. However, in Quebec, the province that Montreal is in, Pepsi outsells Coca-Cola, which is one of the only places in the world where this is true. And we're very confident that all these other companies will want to partner with the Montreal Mounties.
A very important thing that the NBA must consider is whether or not Montreal is ready to welcome an NBA team to their city. And the good news is that the current premier, Francois Legault, thinks it's a good idea for the NBA to bring a new team to the province because of the huge amount of interest. And he's not alone on this. He's also supported by hundreds of people living in Montreal who are longing for an NBA team to come to their city. As you can see, Twitter and several other social media platforms have expressed this. As well, The Global Sport Impact Canada Index named Montreal to be Canada's top ranking city for hosting sports events, which is very impressive. And every NBA game held in Montreal has sold out. And those were all preseason games that didn't even count. So we are very confident that the Montreal Mounties will be able to fill the stadium for 41 regular season games. In fact, just like Jeff was talking about, the Canadians, they sell out their stadium and there's a 10-year wait to get season tickets. And so that's evidence right there. Why would an NBA star even want to live in Montreal? Well, they actually have a lot to offer. They have several events and festivals. They can offer a superior quality of life, being that they were recognized as the fourth best North American city to live in. It's great for food lovers, a wonderful place to raise kids, and there's a lot of affordable housing. So the income tax gap is sometimes a concern, but it's really not as big as one might think. For example, Steph Curry playing in California only takes home 2% more of his gross salary than Kyle Lowry playing in Canada.
One of the biggest things that we see as a draw to Montreal and not Las Vegas or Seattle is global expansion. The NBA is growing, and this past year had over 108 international players from 38 countries, which included 8 All-Stars. There are over 284 million people who speak French in the world, and that is a huge group of fans that we can reach out to, whether they're in Europe, Africa, or in Tahiti. And in February of 2020, the NBA actually signed a large TV contract with Africa, giving us lots of exposure for the next few years. We see a huge opportunity for growth outside of the US and also not in English. We see here the Wizards have created social media accounts for Rui's fans in Japan and Denny's fans in Israel. And the Wizards actually have separate teams working for these different countries. This is also going to increase personal players' revenue through jersey sales in these different countries. In the bottom right of this slide, you will see that Rui is actually the #1 selling jersey in Japan over LeBron, Kawhi, or any other player, and that the Wizards are the most popular team to buy memorabilia from in Japan. Another reason we decided to choose Montreal over Mexico City is the CBA. The CBA is already perfectly set up to have a team in Canada and won't need to be rewritten. The CBA is already written for pay, travel, and much, much more, making it a seamless transition to add another team to Canada.
Next challenge that an NBA expansion faces is venue location. Luckily for us, the Bell Center, which is located in the heart of downtown Montreal, is the perfect fit for the Montreal Mounties. It's been recently renovated in 2015 with over $100 million put into it. NBA usage has already been approved by Jeff Molson, the owner. And with that, the owner of the team is the Canadians that are playing there. It is linked to multiple train stations and has large parking structures allowing for easy public access. Building off of that, we can look at the revenue and non-revenue areas as well. From non-revenue areas, we look at the conference rooms, media and broadcast centers, and plenty of storage rooms and locker facilities for the players. And off the revenue areas, we're confident that the Mounties will be able to bring in plenty of revenue from the 5 restaurants located within, season ticket holders, and as well the Tricolor Sports, which is the merchandising that's located within the stadium. The Raptors rank 4th amongst NBA sales out of all teams, and so we know that we'll be able to sell plenty of jerseys. And from that, their ticketing, we discovered in researching Raptors are also one of the highest selling ticket prices. We know that we'll be able to competitively price our tickets to sell ours for a good price and draw the largest amount of fans within the stadium. Referring back to downtown Montreal and the Bell Center being the heart, there's plenty of things surrounding it that fans can do pre and post game, such as visiting parks, museums, and a mere 10 minutes away walking is St. Catherine Street, where many of the fans are able to park there for free and walk to many local restaurants, ice cream parlors, retail stores, you name it, St. Catherine's has it. Montreal is a wonderful place to visit. We know that our events will be perfect as there's already many set up. The Montreal Mural Festival, where the NBA will be able to put on their own mural and pretty sight as well. And Montreal in Light, where the NBA will also be able to put on events such as dunk contest or any other NBA-oriented events to draw out plenty of fans.
For our digital strategy, our plan is to have a social media presence that is savage yet Canadian. Our social media pages will respond to opposing teams and players and always have a Canadian coined phrase. We want to make sure to focus on Facebook as that is the most popular social media in French-speaking countries. The main concern that we would want our team to tackle is the mental health issue. Bell Let's Talk is an organization already in Montreal that is focused on helping mental health, and we believe the Mounties can help them with that. These are the concepts for the Mounties jerseys that we have come up with. We wanted to keep the Canadian colors of red, white, and blue in the jerseys to be patriotic. And on the right, these are different options for corporate sponsorships on the jerseys. We've talked about the great economy. We've talked about the great fan base that is ready to be tapped into. We've talked about the stadium already in place. So our question for you is, why not Montreal?
Thank you very much for a great presentation. We will now turn the time over to the judges for some Q&A. Micah, we will start with you, and then we'll go to Scott and then Rob.
Hey guys, thank you so much. Great job. I like the logo actually. I'm kind of hip on that logo. It's kind of fun. I got a couple, and just as I don't know if Max made a point, if you can keep your answers like pretty clear and quick, that'd be helpful for us so we can get through as many as we have for you. So Montreal, if Vancouver failed years ago, why do you think Montreal would be successful now?
It has a lot to do with the difference in size and locations of Montreal and Vancouver. Vancouver's right on the West Coast, really close to Seattle, whereas Montreal is a lot closer to bigger East Coast cities, Boston, New York City. They've got more people. They've got a larger, more established sports base, I would say, with the Canadian fan base. And I think that with expansion into Canada, after Toronto, Montreal is the next best city.
Okay. I think that's a fine point. I'm just curious. Vancouver's got the Grizzlies. Vancouver's got the BC Lions, and Vancouver sells out all of their NBA preseason games as well. So did you guys take a look at that at all? How that might translate to Montreal, or why it might have been better or not?
Yeah, we did look at that, and we think one of the biggest things for Montreal is the international exposure, and especially with the French language. And so we're seeing that as a really big pro because the game, the NBA, is an international game. They're trying to expand, and we believe this is the perfect place with the amount of business that's done between Canada and France, and then like we were saying, all the other French-speaking countries in Africa, Tahiti, all those other places are going to get a lot of exposure.
Cool. Okay. Thank you. Who would own this team? Like, who are the potential local business persons or corporations? Who would be the ownership here in Montreal?
That's a great question. I will jump in and answer that unless anyone else wants to. Something that we have talked about is the amazing facility that we have with the Bell Center that's owned by the Molson family. The Molson family owns a lot of real estate. They have a massive alcohol industry. They're a logical connection that we would make in terms of a potential ownership group. Beyond that, beyond the specifics of, or I guess diving into the specifics of individuals, there's maybe some work to be done.
Okay, that's fine. I'm just curious. When you say that the venue, as you mentioned, the Bell Center, when you say the venue is NBA approved, what does that mean?
Perfect. So as we research the venue, Jeff Molson's already put out a statement. Like Jeff said, he's the official owner of that stadium, and he's put out a statement that he's approved that the NBA games be held there. And looking into our other research as well with NBA teams that play alongside hockey teams, we know that'll be able to be facilitated well as well.
Okay. I mean, yeah, they do obviously play preseason games there. I'm just curious if there was any additional work needed to make it a regular season facility.
No, as far as all the stadium hallways, everything like that set up perfectly to bring the equipment in and out. All the thing has been regulated, so that's possible, as well as the recently renovated stadium. The renovations were done in 2015. Like I said, and that was all basically made possible so that the NBA games could be held there as well.
Cool. Okay.
All right, Scott, if you have any questions, go ahead.
Yeah, I think you said that you believe that having somewhere that's based on French language is a pro. but that would make things a bit more difficult for the players and their ability to track free agents and stuff like that. How would you address that challenge from a player perspective?
That's a great question. And so that was something we really looked into as expanding to a place where English is not the native language. But what we've learned is that a large majority of Montreal is bilingual. And so you can get around speaking English completely fine. And so we kind of view it as two pros, as having French there, but also everyone's bilingual. So if it's just English, you're totally fine, but also getting access to all those French fans.
Okay, thank you.
There you go.
Hey, did you say that the division, that you would put them in the Eastern Division, is that including Toronto?
Yeah, the Atlantic Division is where they would fit, one of the three in the Eastern Conference. I believe, I'd have to go back in the slides, but it's Toronto, New York, Brooklyn, all very local geographically.
Great, just want to make sure on that. Have the Molson family, have they made any public statements about having a permanent NBA team in the market and in their facility?
Yeah, so like stated, he already approved that NBA usage. There was an official statement that said he would be fine with an NBA team playing there.
So he didn't just mean exhibition games, he meant for an entire season.
As far as the specifics go, he didn't mention the specifics, but he approved the NBA's usage. So we believe that he would be perfectly fine with that. And as stated before, as many other teams play alongside hockey teams, we know that that's possible. So we didn't recognize any issue. And
yeah, it's always possible. The question is, do they want it? So, but your point is well taken. Also, I like the uniforms and I like the Mounties logo, but I'm wondering, why didn't you use the Mounties logo on the uniforms?
I think just based off timing, we wanted to place them. We have ideas of where to place them. I guess just the thought of the suitors as well and just how that was going to go. It was all basically a theoretical and envisioning that fact. So, I mean, I think we'd obviously know where the locations would be, but just didn't put them on there as we focus more on the economic viability, venue viability, and things as such as well.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you very much for a great presentation. We will go ahead and dismiss you guys for now. You can jump back on the call around 7:40 for the award ceremony. But other than that, we will see you later tonight. Thank you very much for your hard work and dedication during this case.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks for your time.
Okay, so we'll go live back here. As soon as this goes live, I will admit them. RJ, go ahead and let me know when we are live. All right, thank you everyone for joining us this evening. Which one of you has the slides ready to present? Is it you, Claire?
Yeah, it's gonna be me again.
Okay, perfect. I will go ahead and make you a co-host. Claire, while you're pulling up those slides, I'll just go through a couple of introductory notes. You'll have 10 minutes to present. We will let you know when you have 1 minute remaining, and then we'll count down from 10. Once we reach 0, you will need to wrap up your final thought and conclude your presentation. That will be followed by a quick Q&A from the judges. And they will have the liberty to ask you any questions they feel are relevant to your presentation and case. Please keep your answers brief with the judges and directly to the point, as they would like to ask many questions, so that we have time for as many questions as possible. Other than that, you guys are free to start whenever, and we will start the timer accordingly. Best of luck.
Okay, great. Actually, we are ready. Hola, ¿qué tal? Muy buenas noches, amigos, ¿cómo han estado? Thank you for having us. Today we have myself, Ernesto Urbina, along with Aaron Espiritu, Claire Walker, Matthew Breckenridge, and Cole Smith. We are very excited to introduce you to the next expansion franchise in the NBA, the Monterey Matadors. To dive into it, we will be discussing the economic viability, the government relation, the league viability, the venue and the marketing ideas that make this city a prime location for a new franchise. Our agenda for this meeting is based on 5 principal topics. So we begin with the economic viability and revenue. Monterey is the perfect fit to the NBA because of all it has to offer. It is the 3rd most popular city in the country. It is the median income is more than 60,000 US dollars, and it's compared to Los Angeles, California. Monterey is considered the most Americanized city in Mexico. Monterey is one of the wealthiest and safest area in Mexico, with also one of the biggest population, and it has the ability to host both national and international flights, which would bring easy to host and travel to the games. The area is already known for having a strong basketball culture, suggesting there would be a strong fan base for the team. It would also allow the NBA to connect with Mexican individuals in the US, as about 60% of the national Latin community boast Mexican heritage. This brings a sense of diversity and inclusion to the league.
Monterey would fit right in with some of the league's most valuable franchises. Based on comparable data of population and average household income, Monterey is right there with teams like the Knicks, the Lakers, and Clippers, who are some of the most profitable. Who would sponsor the Monterey Matadors? From our research, there are many large companies that would be good sponsors for this NBA team. Cemex is a concrete and construction company that is headquartered in Monterey. It is an industrial company that is actively making efforts to compete in the US market. They just built a large corporate office in Houston, Texas, and sponsoring an NBA team would be great for their brand. Citibank is also making waves in Mexico by revolutionizing the financial technology there. Currently the number 2 bank in Mexico, they have their sights set on being number 1. Sponsoring an NBA team would give them the publicity and recognition they want. There are also many other companies, such as IMG, that have recently made deals with pro teams in Monterey and will do the same with one of the country's top sports in basketball. Based on league averages and the market of Monterey, the Matador organization can expect around $6 million US a season for a jersey patch sponsor and around $3 million US for arena naming rights. There will also be many opportunities for smaller sponsorships within the arena. Based on previous NBA games played in Mexico and similar events that have happened in Monterey, the ticket price range for games could be from 400 to 8,500 Mexican pesos, or equivalent of $20 US to 425 US, with the average ticket being valued about 980 pesos or 49 US. This will generate around $35 million US a season for the organization. Basketball is already very popular in Mexico and Latin America. Broadcasting and merchandise sales will be another huge opportunity for revenue. It is also worth noting that there is already an NBA-sized arena in Monterey. This is one of the nicest current venues in Monterey and has held NBA events there in the past. Built in 2003, this arena would be the temporary home of the Matadors until a state-of-the-art NBA-grade luxury arena and practice facility is built in Monterey. Claire will tell us more about that new venue.
Awesome. So we propose that the new arena be built in Monterey for the Matadors. And this is an example of what the inside of the arena could look like. Our new venue would be located on a land parcel close to major freeways and in the heart of Monterey, allowing easy access for fans. The arena would be sponsored by Cemex, the largest concrete company in Mexico that's based out of Monterey. They could also provide assistance and context for the arena construction process if needed. Our new arena will focus on luxury seating and create an experience that will fit in with current NBA standards. We also expect an increase in ticket price from what we now charge at Arena Monterey, but we will discuss that a little bit later. Along with the new venue, we would also like to build a practice facility for players and have considered that in our total cost breakdown. Overall, we're expecting a total cost of $700 million, with $450 million spent on the arena, $150 million on the practice facilities, and $100 million on renovation of the surrounding areas. By building this new arena and basing it off of revenue that we would make by staying at Arena Monterey, we believe that there will be a 15% increase in per ticket price, an opportunity for about $46 million in annual corporate sponsorship revenue, 30 plus unique vendor and retail opportunities inside the arena, and a 50% increase in the luxury sections from the Arena Monterey. These increases will help to cover the cost of building the new arena. Also, this project will create about 2,500 job opportunities for the Monterey community, which shows that the new franchise would not only benefit the NBA, but also the city in which the franchise is placed. In regard to the new arena, the state and municipal governments will donate the land for the arena's construction, as was done with the Arena Monterey, and also the BBVA Stadium, which is the most modern stadium in Mexico and is actually located right next to the proposed arena site. We expect that the Matadors will stay at Arena Monterey until the new stadium is completed, with a projected finish time of 2 years. Moving on from the new arena, this is an example of what the indoor practice facilities would look like. The practice facilities would be located near where the NBA players would be living and thus detached from the actual stadium. It would include amenities like 2 courts previously shown, training rooms, locker rooms, offices, and a facility to do rapid COVID tests. And we'll be moving on to government regulations next.
Sorry, thank you, Claire. When it comes to government regulations, we believe that it is great between the US and Mexico. The prime example of this is the Champions League for Liga MX and the MLS. When it comes to revenue in the sports sector in Mexico is supposed to grow by 4.9% each year until 2025. And when it comes to taxes, the US and Mexico is very comparable in that area. Now, as we go into league viability, we like to talk about the CBA, or the collective bargaining agreement. A good framework for us in Mexico is the Toronto Raptors, and that's because they live outside the United States. We believe that Mexico can take this framework and still have the same country residence, health, welfare benefits, and payment methods that the US teams receive, just like how the Toronto Raptors also receive these benefits and others from the CBA. Now, when it comes to conferences, we believe that the Western Conference is a perfect fit for the Monterey Matadors. That is because Texas, California, and Arizona fly regularly and consistently into Monterey. When it comes to the divisions, we'd like to put Monterey in the Southwest Division because of its proximity and geographical location to each of these teams in the Southwest Division. For marketing and branding, I'd like to give it off to Spirit.
Thanks, Matt. So this is Manu. He's the Manu Matador and will be the official Monterey Matador mascot. He would represent the fierce spirit of the team and the proud Mexican culture. And here we did some mock-ups of our regular jerseys as well as the brand logos. This is also a design of our Monterey City jersey. We feel that this jersey would represent the NBA well and will also reflect the Hispanic culture and history. So our team name will be in a bold red in a traditional Mexican typeface. As a reminder to our team, placed above the jock tag, we have stitched in yellow lettering, El Campeón, meaning the champions. Seamed into the sides of the jersey, we have the Aztec steps. This design was modeled after the famous Aztec temples. The temples were the place where they would go to make offerings to God to help them stay strong and balanced. The steps are also very symbolic of the Matador players continuing to keep taking progressive steps to being better. On the back, we also have the Mexican flag, just symbolizing Mexico's independence. We also want to talk a little bit about social responsibility. This is NBA Cares. It's an organization that the NBA has set up to help NBA communities reach out to their community and uplift to newer heights. This is the way that the new franchise would not only benefit the NBA, but the Monterey community as well. Choosing Monterey as an expansion team would not only just add academic value, but also a sense of diversity and is a perfect strategic expansion of the NBA brand into the Mexican culture. Gracias.
Gracias to you. I don't speak Spanish clearly, but thank you very much for your presentation. We'll now turn it over to the judges. for any questions that they may have. Rob, we'll start with you and then go to Micah and then Scott.
Thank you, guys. Very clean presentation. Just really like the branding, the logos, the uniforms. Very impressed with the proposal for the new arena. It's kind of a bold move to make such a proposal, but I see why you did it. And I think you make a very compelling argument. Question, however, what does the local government say about bringing an NBA franchise in right now?
I can answer that. Actually, the first NBA game was hosted in 2006 with the Denver Nuggets. And also the Arena Monterrey has hosted more than one NBA game. So they are a strong relationship with NBA and the sports committee in Mexico.
Is there a local owner who has voiced a desire to make the investment not only for a club, but also for a venue?
Actually, the actual owner of the Arena Monterrey is the co-owner with the TV Azteca, who is the second best broadcast in Mexico. So they are the broadcast with the NBA for a long 20 years ago. So this did not really a problem for that.
And following up with that same Arena Monterrey, they've been working they have local Mexico teams, or not local, but country Mexico basketball teams that they've been working to try to institute in Monterrey and other areas in Mexico. And so we feel that an NBA franchise would kind of add that value that they're looking for by creating a new Mexico team, which they haven't been able to bring about yet.
Last question for me. You mentioned that flights are common to California, Arizona, and Texas. What's the flight times to some of those cities in the NBA from Monterey?
Yeah, I can answer that. To LA, it's about 3 hours, and from Dallas, it's about an hour and a half. And so Dallas would be the closest location, and then California would obviously be like LA and a little more of interest to players.
But you're suggesting that it went into the same division as Dallas, San Antonio, Houston, not into California, correct?
No, we just suggested California as part of the conference, and then the division would be closer to Dallas, which would be the hour and a half flight.
Thank you.
So the NBA has already pointed to Mexico City as an opportunity by putting a G League team there and kind of a trial balloon. And I think obviously Mexico City, from the size of its market, is significantly more. I thought you did a really good job of pointing out the difference in the demographics and the wealth from that perspective. But tell me, from when pitching the other 29 NBA owners, Monterrey is not the first city that would jump off your tongue as it relates to Mexico. Tell me what pitch is your major part of your pitch from Monterrey versus Mexico City?
I can answer that one. Monterrey is considered one of the most safest, if not the safest city in Mexico. I know that it might be a concern for some players to move their families to another country from the United States. And so they would really want to be safe and have that assurance that they are safe in another country. And Mexico City, being so far south and maybe not the safest city in Mexico, which might be a concern to those players. And so I'd say one of the main points is the wealth of Monterrey and also the safety of Monterrey that it provides.
And then I'd like to add off of Cole. When it comes to the G League, we do know that Mexico City is a trial for the G League. But this is just like how in baseball, how you have AA, AAA, and single A, and how their feeder teams or farm systems are in different cities. But the main city is obviously where you want to go. And so we feel that Mexico City has been a great trial run. But for the official face of the NBA, we believe that Monterrey is a better and safer city for the NBA as a whole.
And just that kind of the last thing to answer on that is we also picked that placing just because Ernesto is actually from Mexico. And since it's closer to the border, we feel it'll be super useful for traveling. And also it's just a lot shorter time frame that they would have to take to Mexico City.
Thank you. And well done.
Great job, guys. Really well done as far as a lot of your information and research. And I echo Scott's, kind of thought there about, wow, Monterey's not quite like your first, it's not a Seattle, it's not a Las Vegas, it's not one of those type of first cities you come to mind, but I think you guys really put something well together here. Scott and Rob hit actually the questions I had for the most part, but I think maybe Claire, I was a little confused about, you said something to the effect of NBA players living at a practice facility or nearby. What were you referring to there?
Yeah, so we were, and Matt might be able to help me with this one as well, but we were planning on having a detached practice facility, and like other NBA teams have done, put it somewhere close to where the players would be living. So that way it's in probably one of the wealthier parts of Monterey and safer parts of Monterey along with the stadium. But that way it'd be easier for them to get to the arena. And I think Matt might have something to say to that degree, but it was just the idea that it would be close for them. And that way they would be able to practice separate from the facility.
Yeah, so we got this idea from the Phoenix Suns because they just built a $45 million practice facility in Camelback Mountain, which is about 30 minutes from downtown Phoenix. And the players don't live in downtown Phoenix. They actually live closer to Camelback Mountain. I have a couple articles read. They have people like Devin Booker and even DeAndre Ayton riding bicycles into the practice facility because that area is safer than downtown Phoenix. And granted, Phoenix is a pretty safe city, but it's out from traffic and it's a very easy commute. And so we thought if, downtown Monterey was a concern for safety, we can put a practice facility in one of the nicer areas and nicer neighborhoods in the outskirts of Monterey. The players don't have to come into the city all the time. They can do that 5 to 10 minute either car ride or bicycle ride. So it's safer and more accessible to them since that's where they will live if they're not doing, games. So that's kind of their gym space, their home, the practice facility. And so that's where we got the idea of having a detached practice facility instead of having it with the arena.
Right. Okay. Thank you. That's all I got. Great job, guys.
Perfect. Thank you guys very much for a great presentation. It was very evident that you put in a lot of work. Please exit the Zoom call and then rejoin the waiting room around 7:40 p.m. when we will announce the winners. Thank you very much, and we will talk to you soon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gracias.
Gracias.
Gracias por todo. Do I need to keep this open until it loads? Okay. So just tell me when to exit out. All right. Welcome, guys. Which one of you has the presentation ready to share your screen?
I believe that's Nathan.
Okay, perfect. Nathan, let me make you the co-host really quickly. While Nathan is pulling up your presentation, you should be good to go, Nathan. While he's pulling that up, a couple of quick things. You'll have 10 minutes to present. When there is 1 minute remaining, we will give you a warning in the chat. We will then count down from 10 seconds. Once we reach 0, you will have to wrap up your presentation with wherever you may be. And then there will be a brief Q&A from the judges. Please make sure your answers to the judges' questions are brief and to the point so that they can get through as many questions as possible. Other than that, you are free to get started, and we are excited to see what your team has prepared. Good luck.
Thanks. Great. And I just want to make sure you can see the screen.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thanks. So we're really excited to share with you. I'm Nathan Rock. We also have Trey and Charlie on the team as well. So looking at this case, we were asked to find a potential NBA franchise city. And one of the things we focused on in looking at all of the different options was to really focus on a team that would benefit the league in the long run and really expand the NBA's global presence. And so we decided on Mexico City.
Introducing the Mexico City Matadors. While it's easy to say and passes the imposing mascot test, Matadors embody deep meaning and pride as a long-standing part of Latin culture.
Before anything, we wanted to make sure that we were proposing a team that would be a strong asset to the NBA financially. The chart on the left speaks to the number of homes that own a television in various areas. Historically, this has been an incredible indicator of profitability for NBA teams. Mexico as a country has a market over twice as large as New York and Los Angeles combined, and Mexico City alone outpaces almost 20 NBA teams. In fact, it lands right above Phoenix and Seattle, which is the top US city without a team. We think several stations in Mexico, including the Mexico ESPN branch, Televisa, and Grupo Salinas, would all be very interested in broadcasting these games. In addition, US media conglomerates such as ESPN here would likely love to broadcast this game as well. Considering that we have 36.6 million Mexican Americans and 53 million Spanish speakers in the US, this really seems to further increase the potential depth of our media partnerships both domestically and abroad.
Diving into some of the potential Mexico City has, we looked at comparable ticket sales and media deals around the NBA. We estimate that ticket sales could generate an average of $131 million per season for the Matadors, and media deals could be up to $168 million per season. And this doesn't even consider other media and apparel deals that the team would have.
We recognize that one potential concern may be safety, but after looking into it, it's really not something that we see as inhibiting to the NBA. First, Mexico and the United States were only separated by 16 countries on the 2020 Global Peace Index. Second, NBA players would not be the first US professional sports players living in Mexico. 28 US soccer players have played in the Mexico Football League. Third, tourism suggests Americans at large are becoming more and more interested in traveling to Mexico, with tourism increasing 15% year over year for the last 5 years. However, NBA players could still have an independent security detail like they've had in the past in Mexico City, further increasing confidence. In fact, ETS Risk Management, a Mexican security personnel provider, publicly states Mexico City is one of the safest non-beach locations for people in Mexico. In addition, for non-crime threats, the Mexican government has the app 911 CDMX for public alerts. Finally, we talked to someone who actually attended the 2018 Jazz game in Mexico City, and they said they never felt unsafe during their entire travel in Mexico.
Retaining top NBA talent is a concern for any franchise and something the NBA League has been addressing in recent years. But we actually think Mexico City is a no-brainer for free agents and top-tier talent. There's an untapped market for endorsements and a low cost of living and a very vibrant city for them to live in. NBA players have spoken out on Mexico City's potential and desirability to live.
Honestly, after looking at Mexico City, I myself would almost be willing to move there. We didn't want to stop at just pure numbers, so we went a step deeper, and Mexico City is really a great place. These are some example places that we found where players could live. If players want to live in a penthouse, they can. If they want to live in a house and have a basketball court, they can. On this map, the farthest location that we looked at was still only 40 minutes away from the stadium. Now, not only is this great for the players, but it also shows that within a 40-minute drive, there are a lot of very nice, wealthy communities in Mexico City. These are people who could buy season passes for games at the stadium or pay a premium for luxury or floor seating, which further solidifies our confidence in a Mexico City team.
One thing that's important to consider is ownership and having an active owner. You need a billionaire, and we want a Mark Cuban for Mexico City. These are 3 billionaires, namely Carlos Slim, an avid philanthropist and sports supporter, Maria Asuncion, an extremely talented investor, and Daniel Servide, a food industry expert. Any of these billionaires, or a combination of them, would be more than enough to purchase a $1.5 to $2.5 billion team. Mexico also has a solid record of government support for the NBA. Obviously, the sold-out regular season games have been held there for many years, and the recent introduction of the G League Capitans show that the NBA is very welcome.
Yeah, like Trey mentioned, Mexico City has a proven NBA popularity. They've had sellout games, they have a G League team, and they have an official NBA store. Something else that we see a lot of potential in is the NBA League Pass. 63% of Hispanic Americans are considered NBA fans, and 25% are considered avid fans. So we see a lot of potential again with Mexico City. The Mexico City Matadors would also be able to be deeply ingrained in the community. Nearly 50% of the population in Mexico City is under 20 years old, and a large percentage of this population is in poverty. Having NBA players as role models would be great for them. And the government has been pushing basketball as initiatives for youth and kids to get involved in. Looking at where the Mexico City Matadors would be placed in the league, we suggest that they're placed in the Western Conference in the Southwest Division. This would make the longest in-division flight 3 hours from Memphis to Mexico City. And even throughout the league, the longest flight would be 5 hours, the longest being Portland and Boston. And the actual longest flight in the NBA would still be held by Portland to Miami.
Further evidence of Mexico City's preparedness for a top-tier basketball franchise is found in Arena Ciudad de Mexico. It has over 22,000 seats, which is higher than any other current NBA franchise by more than 1,000. It's in a solid food and shopping area and consistently draws crowds for concerts, sports, and other events. So to best capture the remarkable Hispanic patriotism, we utilize the colors of Mexico's flag: red for the blood spilt of national heroes, green for independence, white for purity and the deep-rooted Catholic faith, and black and gold accents round out a powerful NBA franchise logo. There's also no shortage of marketing money, and these are a few potential sponsors that could likely consider adding a valuable NBA franchise market to their investment portfolio. Here are a couple possible jersey concepts for the Mexico City Matadors.
We saw Monterey as another potentially viable option for the NBA, considering that they could also access the large media market in Mexico and the Spanish population in the United States. Granted, they couldn't access the market in Mexico City as well as a league in Mexico City would do, but overall, the market in Monterey is just not proven like Mexico City. The population is quite small. It's about 5 million compared to 21.2 million, which places it in the range of Phoenix instead of the range of New York and Los Angeles, which is more what we're looking for. And it's a small market and venue. And they have difficult cell phone coverage in surrounding areas and low flight coverage, which would be hard for fans and players. Ultimately, we just don't see Monterey as super attractive when Mexico City is so readily available. We also evaluated several other cities as well. As we said at the beginning, we evaluated over 20 different cities, and we liked Kansas City because of their distance from other teams, but other professional sports teams, such as the Chiefs who are playing in the Super Bowl this Sunday, just haven't seen the profitability that we want for the NBA. Las Vegas was also promising, but we felt they would have difficulty maintaining a strong and steady fan base, given their notoriety as a tourist destination, especially given their recent COVID struggles. Finally, Montreal is not an outstanding media market. It's fairly close to Toronto and it carries its own concerns. We just didn't like the idea of Canada getting a second team when the large and entirely untapped Mexican market, not to mention the Spanish market in the United States, doesn't have a team of their own.
We obviously see a lot of potential in Mexico City, and we really believe the time is now for the NBA to expand. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys very much for a great presentation. We will go ahead and turn it over to the judges to ask you some questions relevant to your case. Once again, just please keep your answers brief and to the point. So we will go ahead and start with Micah and then go Scott, and then we'll end with Rob.
Thanks, guys. Really great job. I like your logo. I like the branding you guys put together. It looks really clean and nice. A couple of quick questions. You kind of led right off the bat with the risks, or the perceived risks of safety and retention of players, which I think, was probably wise. But I didn't really get a lot as it related to the economic viability as it relates to partnerships or ticket sales or the history. Yeah, the league has had some games down there, but I kind of wanted a little bit more as it related to those. Is anybody, like in a quick 30 to 60 seconds, give me something about what you guys looked at as it related to the economics of the team and how it would,
Yeah, I could actually totally walk through that. And I know Nathan actually knows a lot about it as well. So he can feel free to chime in at any point. If you want to go back to slide 6 though, Nathan, we brushed over this kind of quickly, but we actually did take quite a few of these things a step deeper. So for example, when we were evaluating ticket sales, we looked at average NBA ticket sales and what the average ticket prices are, and we applied those to the stadium in Mexico City as soon as we realized that the stadium in Mexico City has historically charged fairly large prices in US dollars for like events at their stadium. And then for the media deal side of things, what we did was, if you saw that chart on the slide before, which we don't need to go to right now, but it basically just listed the number of homes with a television in various areas. So we took New York, Los Angeles, and New Orleans, and we took what is rumored to be the amount of money that they make from local media deals every year, and we divided it by the number of that we saw in that chart on the last slide. And that gave us kind of these average numbers for constituents. Yeah, that chart right there. So that gave us these numbers, which we felt confident saying, like you were looking at about $15 per constituent, right? So you take that, but then we recognize that Mexico City, and in Mexico City, a lot of things cost less than they do in the United States. And what we saw online was that, you know, the cost of living is about like 3 times less what it would be in the United States. So we took this 15.31 number, and instead of multiplying it directly by 33 million, which is the Mexico market, we multiplied it by 11 million because that's 1/3, just assuming that they're paying like 1/3 of the price, or they would get like 1/3 of the media deal. And so that's where we got then these two numbers, which is definitely what we put the most calculation into, just because of the fact that from what we saw, these are two of the main drivers of profitability for NBA teams. Nathan, do you have anything else to add?
Does that, I guess, just does that answer your question, or are you looking for anything else?
Well, that's great. That was a great answer. That was good. Thank you.
Okay.
My last question is, and you guys kind of went over this real quick, but is having an arena enough? Has there been any issues with that arena, or you know, is it viable that an NBA team could just walk right in tomorrow and play there?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. Some of it is just really difficult to find, you know, third-party data on the arena. Looking at the events that they have a lot of just mega events. It seems like international singers and bands and pop stars coming in. They've held NBA games there. So our impression is yes. I think, you know, maybe some accommodations would need to be made, but safety is a very big priority for them, and it seems to be, you know, state of the art, even though it is, you know, somewhat old. It's not, you know, built in the last year or two like the Kings or Warriors Stadium, but I think it's can definitely accommodate an NBA team fairly readily.
I would actually add one thing really quickly. I actually work at a startup up in Lehigh with some pretty big NBA fans. They're actually holding a jazz night tonight, a jazz and wings night. And they were the ones who attended a game in Mexico in 2018. And I talked with them a lot about their experience there, as many questions as I could. And they honestly had really, really good things to say. Like, they said that the arena was great, the fans were great, the energy was great, the city was great. And I mean, they're just two people from Utah, right? Like, they weren't really looking for anything special. They were there for an NBA game, but I think they really enjoyed Mexico City overall.
Did they tell you that they were too cold in the arena?
No, they said that they were actually standing near the top, and so most people were kind of on their like feet jumping anyways, and they're pretty tired by the end. That was the only thing that they said, was that they had pretty awful seats because they didn't pay very much, but or they didn't want to pay a ton, but that aside from their like seats, that is just not what they're used to. I think they're season pass holders here in Utah, so aside from that, it was a great experience for them.
Thank you. I digress. Inside information. So just
too much inside information. It was cold and smoky.
That's right. In 2013, Scott.
Yeah, they did not say that, but I mean, that's good to know as well.
From my perspective, I think you guys did a really good job. I think the branding's very good. I do think I'd ask you to go a little bit more in as it relates to player security and players potentially moving family there. And while I would say that Mexico City as a whole, from a financial perspective, provides likely a positive revenue opportunity, it's also an enormous city and challenging to get around. Tell us how you would deal with the security and travel issues within the market.
So I can actually start on that, but I know that the other two also have some really good comments. But Mexico City, as I was looking into it, they actually, transportation is an issue that was brought up by my friends who went in 2018. And so I did some research on it, and I actually found out that Mexico is recognizing that, right? Like in 2012, a mayor was elected who really put infrastructure as a top priority, but infrastructure is something that takes time. So he made some changes initially, but we also saw in the last year several highway expansions announced that are supposed to be completed by 2021 and 2022 that should help divert some of the traffic that can crowd out streets. And I mean, another thing that's helpful is that, like, while this arena is in a lively part of town, it is like a fairly trafficked area, but it's not like the most heavily trafficked area. And so, like, I think that, there's a lot of traffic around airports and stuff like that. And we're kind of avoiding a little bit of that with the location where the arena already is. So I think that because Mexico's recognizing the problem, and because it's not like the worst thing in the world, right? Like, it's still possible to get to and from the stadium. I mean, enough fans did it to fill the entire stadium. I think that's kind of where I'm coming from in thinking that it's just kind of not too big of an issue, especially after 2022, once those highway expansions are complete. But Nathan or Trey, if you have anything to add.
Yeah, I think it's worth noting that the NBA obviously recognizes any safety concerns, at least for the players when they're down there for those games, like most recently in December of 2019. And we feel like it's obviously very safe to say that we could consider and fully support really any added security detail that's deemed necessary, not just for players, but for families. And maybe things will perhaps adjust a little bit as they've been there for longer than the initial novelty of having such a big name franchise as an NBA team in Mexico City. But we obviously are big supporters of added security to give them really peace of mind.
I think just last thing, I don't want to go too long, but we touched on U.S. soccer players playing in the Mexico Soccer League, and I think that's a really good comparison. I think there's not too many. I think right now it's 5 or 6 U.S. players living in Mexico City or in Mexico and playing for the league there. But I think the NBA would be able to learn a lot with how they handle their safety precautions as well. And, I spent some time looking into any issues that U.S. players had, and nothing came up on my research. So I think you just have to be careful.
Thank you.
Very good presentation, guys. Very clean. Thank you for covering a lot of good points in your presentation. So very quickly, you mentioned that the former mayor was supportive. What evidence do you have the current government leadership is supportive?
One thing that I would say is a lot of the initiatives that have been raised by like I was talking about that mayor in 2012, right, who really started prioritizing infrastructure. That has been continued. And I think that, it's kind of one of those things, right, where these ideas, they might seem radical when they first come up, but if they're successful, right, people aren't going to fix something that's not broken. And I think that with the G team going there in 2019, and just with the current things happening in Mexico that seem to align with previous mayors' political priorities, I think that there's good reason to suggest that they would be welcoming to a team. That's my input.
I think if you look at precedent, the current mayor, she hasn't said anything specifically on the NBA. The former mayor addressed it a lot, but even if you go even back beyond the mayor in 2017, looking at all of the initiatives the government did around basketball and hosting games, I think back in the 70s, the NBA was having games there, and the NBA was, or the government was supportive of the NBA there. So I think precedent has a lot to do with it. And basketball has a long tradition of being in this country since the early 1930s. So I think, we don't know exactly what's on the mind of the current mayor, but if you look at precedent, it's very positive.
Thank you. Similar question, and my last question. You mentioned 3 billionaires that might be prospective owners. Have they or anyone else expressed an interest in taking ownership of this?
Yes. So actually, if we want to go to that slide, Nathan, it's slide 10. And I know that Trey also knows quite a bit about this as well. But so Carlos Slim, he actually, he's one of the richest men in the entire world. And he actually has a foundation. It's the Carlos Slim Foundation. And they've been pretty active sponsors of the NBA. And they also discuss openly on their website how they think that basketball and other sports programs in general, they're an avid supporter of sports programs overall. And they love it because it helps children stay out of addiction and like drug cartels and just other like potentially dangerous paths. And it helps them remain more focused and disciplined, and it teaches just good life skills. So they have a lot of really positive things on their website to say, first of all, about sports in general, but second of all, specifically about the NBA and ways that they've supported NBA things in the past. So that's kind of what I would say about Carlos Slim. And then Maria Asuncion, she is just a really avid investor, right? Which kind of gave me like Mark Cuban vibes, because like that's what Mark Cuban is. Like he's an investor. He wasn't like, he's an investor. And NBA teams have proven to be an incredible investment, right? Like I was looking at valuations in the 90s, and like you were looking at teams being bought and sold for maybe $500 million, like at most, but sometimes it was even as low as like $50 million. And then today, like you look at things like the Jazz, who were sold for like $2.2 billion. And so I just think that like we've seen this investment be incredible over the last 20 years. And so as an investor, she could potentially be interested for that reason as well.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you guys very much for a great presentation. Very great work. Very evident that you put in a lot of rigorous work throughout the last couple of weeks. Go ahead and jump back on this call around 7:40 using the same link as you did to get on here. And then we will admit everyone who participated tonight for an award ceremony and a brief introduction of the judges. But until then, we'll see you then. Thank you very much.
Great.
Thank you so much.
1 second, guys. We're just getting ready to get the live stream started, and then I'll go ahead. All right, perfect. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you once again. Before we go through who plays first, second, and third, I want to remind all of you that each of you qualified for the final round of this case competition in a case competition that originated with 55 students. So really great work to all of you for the hard work and effort that you put in. We're going to go ahead and turn the time over to the judges so they can make some brief introductions. Scott will start us off, and then Micah will introduce himself and give the results, and then Rob, our club advisor, will kind of wrap up the final thoughts. So Scott, go ahead and share anything that you would like to share, and then we'll go on to Micah and Rob.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, thank you all for the invitation for participating. I've known Rob a long time, and almost anything he would ask me to do, I would participate. And I don't know what my expectations were coming into this, but you guys far exceeded it. I have been in the sports business for over 30 years. I oversee all the ticket sales revenue for the Oklahoma City Thunder. I've been in the NBA, NHL, and NFL over those 30 years. And I also teach a similar class at University of Oklahoma. And I can tell you, you far exceeded my expectations and stuff I've had in my class in a similar capacity. That probably has more to do with your leadership versus my leadership. But I thought you guys did a terrific job, A to Z. We had a really good conversation after your presentations, and it was a healthy conversation to the point that to try and figure out, I would tell you the margin from, who we put at number 1 and who we put at number 5 was very slim. But there were a couple key things that I'm sure Michael will go through. But you should all be proud of your effort. Rob asked, I think, what is a very viable question at the end is, Scott, would you hire any of these people? And I think there's a lot of conversations, and each and every one of you should be proud of the effort that you put in front of professionals in our industry, and should feel confident that whatever your next steps are, that if you provide that type of confidence and that type of research going into your interview process and your opportunities, that you will have success.
Thank you, Scott. Appreciate your remarks.
All right, I know I'm on Zoom as well, so you'll see me on 2 screens, but you'll only hear me on 1. Yeah, I've known Scott's name through mutual colleagues and associations, but I've never met Scott until today. And I could just tell you everything he just said, I 100% sustain and agree with. It was a really fun opportunity for us. I wasn't quite sure what to expect either. But as I kind of helped consult Carson on this in the beginning of, what are some things we should think about in this competition, I'm really excited for what I saw tonight. Every single one of you should be proud of the effort that you guys put in. And it's a competition, so there's somebody who gets to win, I guess, so to speak. But, at BYU, everybody's a winner, right? So it's the only place on earth you can say that. But no, it was great. It was really good. Just before I give that, they asked me to give you a little bit of background. I guess my background is what makes me qualified as a judge, I guess, so to speak. I'm the young guy in the room. I've only been in the sports industry for about 23 years, so not quite as long as. But I've been with 2 of our NBA franchises, the Portland Trailblazers and the Utah Jazz. As well as some other minor league teams, and a couple of Winter Olympics here in Salt Lake, and then also in Vancouver. And I'm currently with the league office, and I've been with the league office for about 8.5 years now. So, and I manage events worldwide. I manage venues. A couple of these teams talked about Mexico City. I know Mexico City intimately well. I've been running the local games that we do down there in the preseason and regular season games every year since 2013. So a lot of you did a really great job in your presentations as it relates to those things. And what you were up against was a guy who knows a lot about the market and a lot about the venue, and a lot about where the bodies are buried in Mexico City, and in some cases, literally. So, but you did a great job. As well as Scott, I have the opportunity to teach at Columbia University a sports law and ethics class. And I echo his comments as well about hiring. But as you further your career, I'm sure my program director would love it if I put a plug in to let you know that we have a great sports management master's program at Columbia University.
It's not Joe Favorito, is it? No.
Who's that?
It's not Joe Favorito, is it?
Oh yeah, that's Joe. He's teaching. He's one of our instructors. So
right.
We've got a motley crew of instructors, and we got some actually great professionals in that program that you learn a lot from. So put that on as a thought. Put a pin in your hat for future opportunities or education. So with that, they've asked me to announce our top 3. And again, Scott mentioned they were very, very, very close, and so the margins were in some cases a point or 2 differential in how we rank things. So with our we're going to start with number 3. With our number 3 group, we award that to the Montreal Mounties. So congratulations to Montreal. Number 3 was good. Number 2 came in the Mexico City Matadors. You came in number 2 on that, and honestly, a great job. And with our number 1, our winner for tonight, it was awarded to the Monterey Matadors, actually. So congratulations to the Monterey Matadors. And all of you, let me just tell you a couple of little things about Monterey that kind of put them over the top. One thing I can't tell you from the NBA perspective whether Monterey truly is a viable city or not for us. But the creativity and the deep dive they did in some of the areas of how to make Monterey a viable city, and some of the research with the figures and the numbers and things came back. It was really well done. It was a great team presentation. We noticed that when given opportunity to answer questions, each of you were able to answer equally, and it felt like the team really was on top of answering questions from us. I'm forgetting something. I know Scott or Rob, you can.
Yeah, I think they addressed the challenges with solutions, and I think that was really relevant, and deep dive solutions to that. So I thought that was probably the differentiator in my mind.
Yeah. So congratulations to the Monterey team. If you're able to celebrate your win with me later on, Rob, I'm looking forward to it. But again, to all of you, we collectively agreed, like, so extremely impressed with what you guys put together. If this were done out, I mean, obviously this is not just a sports management conference for BYU, but these students, you represent BYU extremely well, and should be proud of that. And any one of you could probably go and do a presentation for a team or in a league, in any league, right off the bat, given what you produced here. It was phenomenal. So well done.
Well, I'll just, this is Rob Cornelis, your club advisor. I know most of you, but not all of you. So as was said at the very beginning of the competition, I run Game Face, and I get to work with NBA clubs frequently. And among those at the top of my list are Scott Loft and the Oklahoma City Thunder, because of the classy organization that they are and the way that they have captivated that market. And Scott, one reason why I asked him if he would join us tonight is not only have he and I been in sports the same amount of time, next to this young and Micah, Scott has such vast experience that I knew that I could trust him to give us a very clear overall picture of what's viable. And plus, he's got a lot of experience at seeing a lot of presentations. So I just want you to know, from my vantage point as your advisor, you all made me proud. And also, I hope that you recognize that two things. This was a team competition, so you win and you don't win as a team. But it's also an opportunity for you to learn to be good teammates. And so for those of you who won Monterey, I'm sure you're congratulating each other right now through text messaging. For those of you who didn't finish first, I hope you'll still recognize the good work that your teammates did for you. You made each other look good. And this is an important principle to learn if you're going to go into business, whether it be with sports or some other entity, that you're only as good as the weakest member of your team. So I congratulate you on the great work you've done. And as I said, the comprehensiveness of your presentations was more than I had expected. And I especially appreciated how each of you took comments from last week in the preliminary rounds and improved your presentations, not just by making them glitzier, but by going out and finding better solutions, better ideas. So that was well noted, and I commend you all. So having said all that, I also want to thank the club officers, because I've been with the club since we started it 4 years ago. And I want you to know that actually now we're in our 5th year, that both Max and Carson and RJ and all the other officers have served you very well. And Carson and Max especially, I want to thank you guys for what you've done. Excellent, very professional. And, you know, I think either one of you as our co-presidents could take any project that any of us give to you, Micah, Scott, or me, and do an outstanding job to make us proud. So Any of you looking to become an officer in the future, you've got two good examples here in these co-presidents and then those who support them as well. So I hope all of you are considering perhaps making yourself available as a club officer, because we need to continue the tradition and keep building on this success. So thanks again, everyone. And thank you, Max and Carson.
Thank you, Rob. I'll say one final thing and then I'll let Carson share anything he feels fitting. One, no matter what you placed here tonight, just remember the great accomplishment that you've achieved and the opportunity that you've had to present to 3 very prominent executives within the sports industry. That's a huge and invaluable experience. And I would put on your resumes, if you won the competition, put that you won the competition. If you were a finalist and you didn't place as well as you'd hoped, I would still mention that you were a finalist in an NBA case competition. That will bode really well for you in future interviews and any other experiences. But thank you again for everything that you guys have done to represent BYU and our club so well. We're very proud of all the work that you have put in. Carson, whatever you have to add, please do.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that again, thank you. Please, tomorrow there's another full day of content and learning and networking with professionals from across the world. And I hope that each of you take the opportunity to really connect and share and bounce ideas off with the professionals at the summit tomorrow. But all I can say is I appreciate each of you for putting in the time. It really made us proud. So thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you guys once again. Those who were part of the Monterey Matadors, we will see you at dinner here momentarily. Thank you everyone for your presentations, and we look forward to seeing more of you tomorrow. Have a great night. Once again, great job.